I've finally hit the jackpot and been acknowledged as a potentially useful person to send junk to by Creality, the 3D printer company. I'm not sure what I did to deserve this honour, but what an honour it is. The box is spinnable as well as openable with a suitably sharp tool, and if you open it with complete disregard to the packaging instructions, some stuff will fall out. This includes a small spool of PLA, a plastic bag with tools, an SD card, a plastic A4 sheet for calibrating the nozzle, and a power cable. I'll show these in more detail later. I began by carefully unpacking the printer, which is fully enclosed and contains a lot of cable ties and sweetie-shaped foam packaging. But first, the outer bag sensuously drops over the printer's shoulder like a naughty nightie to reveal skin-tight cellophane wrapping clinging onto the delicate see-through screens and cover. This feels like a surprisingly well-designed printer. The SD card slot is positioned vertically, which means I can't tell whether it's upside down. The touchscreen displays in the portraiture, referencing hundreds of years of art history. As I browse the manual, it takes me a moment to realize a handful of pages are repeated, having been translated into such popular languages as French and Italian. I take a quick peek at the rear of the printer to find something very important, which is the power supply unit input voltage settings. I'm based in the so that was set to 240 volts. If you want to use your printer the same day you receive it, you will need to follow my lead and start cutting the cable ties and remove the travel packaging. Afterwards, I fit the complimentary spool of pillow chocolates onto the inbuilt cup holder and finally reveal the wonderful sweet-shaped foam packaging, followed by some of the items that fell out the box earlier. There is a side snips, an acupuncture needle for when 3D printing becomes too stressful, an SD card and USB card reader, a spare nozzle, and a bag of travel toiletries. This one translates to metal grease, good for 1950s quiffs, and this, well, you know what that is. I now feed the PLA filament into the printer through a tiny weeny hole, which contains a filament sensor, and out the other end through a flexible PTFE hose. I cut a chamfer at the end and push this into the extruder head. This method of printing, where the extruder is so close to the nozzle, generally provides more advantages to printing than disadvantages. To check I did this correctly, I give the enclosure a sniff. New. The printer starts up with a nice automatic homing cycle and promptly loads the filament. It will probably not do this again the second time round. I load the SD card, which automatically navigates to the file selection screen. But before I start printing, I have a little wander over to bar print mode and the print settings club. There I see the opening acts, additional case fans, internal lighting, and the headliner, pause if the door opens while printing. Before you start printing, it's a good idea to perform the auto leveling, which is more of an assisted manual leveling, marketed as something greater and better than it actually is. That said, the bed, which is of a welcome solid construction, may make needing to do this as a regular activity unnecessary, but only time will tell. The heat bed moves upwards in a slow fashion, presumably to build anticipation. A movement so lackluster you could listen to the entire Blue Danube waltz before it got to the top. I mean, it'd be quicker waiting for a London bus to turn up on a Sunday. But finally, it reaches its destination, and the blue plastic sheet gets to cameo. I use this to set the distance between the nozzle's tip and the print bed, across 5 different zones. The sheet is large enough to avoid getting my fingers squashed. And once I'm done, I can finally print a stock project off the SD card, and test the responsiveness of the door pause interlock. I'm printing a flexible dinosaur, just your standard theropod, which is being printed using a raft between the model and the print bed. These SD card ready prints are carefully set to print perfectly, so while they show you what's possible with your new 3D printer, they may not actually reflect the stock print settings, which will take you many months or even years to finally set up correctly. It took a while, well over 10 seconds, which is generally the allocated stopping safety limit on machine tools. The head became stationary mid-print, but if this could be faster and include the Z-hop and extruder retraction written into the pause macro, and possibly moving the extruder back to the rear of the machine, this would be a pretty good feature. That said, it's a feature I've not seen on even the expensive Ultimakers, which this printer looks like a cross between and a microwave. The model comes off fairly easily from the print bed, which lacks the spring steel stiffness of the type you find on the Prusa's. It felt like I could almost fold and dent this material, but I resisted the urge. I peeled away the raft from the model to be left with an empty feeling that all the effort I spend preoccupying my time is actually an attempt to further push people away and isolate myself. But this video is far from over because we haven't looked at the print settings. When it comes to print settings, I tried installing the Creality software, which is a hacked version of Cura, and that worked fine, but I really prefer using Prusa Slicer. So I mocked up a profile by copying and pasting and testing and editing settings from the former software, as well as hassling my contact at Creality who sent me some strangely modified profile from another printer. All that might not translate very well into a video, and I'm feeling pressure to meet an arbitrary deadline to release this video while the unlucky people commute home from a job they hate. So I'll include some screenshots and the profile files on my website which you can meander to and bemuse yourself with in your own time. And those will be linked to in the description underneath.